Well, great. ASPIRE stands for After School Program Interventions and Resiliency Education. It's a program for adolescents age 13 through 17. We'll take an 18-year-old if they're still in high school. It's really geared to help kids gain the skills that they need to deal with life and life's problems that are overwhelming to them at the time. That's sort of it in a nutshell. ASPIRE is really a unique program. It's designed, first of all, in the after-school hours. So we really want to support the kids while they're in school and while they're doing other things, not get in the way of that, not have mental health treatment interfere with what else they're doing. But also we recognize the after-school period is a time of high risk for kids. A lot of studies show this is when kids engage in behaviors. It's an unsupervised time, parents are still at work, they're out of school, they're exhausted often, emotionally, mentally, from being in school and whatever else has gone on during the day, and so their defenses are down a little bit. So it's an ideal time for a mental health services program because we can actually help kids learn the skills that they need to deal with those times when they're feeling most vulnerable. So that's a key component of it. And what we're looking for is for the kids to gain skills specifically in some areas such as emotional regulation, distress tolerance, and interpersonal effectiveness. Those are sort of the three key areas that we work in skill development on. And this is all based on a model of therapy called dialectical behavioral therapy, which is a form of therapy that really works on skill development. We don't emphasize mental illness so much as we emphasize mental wellness and just gaining those skills that kids need. Yeah, the kids come after school, and then the first thing we do is feed them. Just like any other adolescent, they open up the refrigerator and have some food. And then we do a meditation exercise with the kids. And this is a way of teaching kids how they deal with transitions. Again, a high-risk area for kids is that they don't have those transition skills really well nailed. And so it helps that and develop that skill. And then we follow that with an expressive arts program where the kids, because kids express themselves creatively often much more than they will in other communication formats. They just haven't learned those skills yet. And so while they're working on a project, they will be able to talk about their project and talk about their feelings. And so we help them using occupational therapists. We help them gain those communication skills in that setting. Following that, they do a skills group where we really work on those areas. And so there'll be a 2-week session on distress tolerance and learning such things as how do you cope with distress and pain? How do you reframe your thoughts when you're feeling these things? How do you, this type of thing. And then the parent component of it, and we do require parent participation. I mean, it's a real key influence on what's happening in the family. So they attend once a week as a mandated group that they attend, just the parents. And we help the parents learn skills, mostly around how to validate what their kids are experiencing. That's the biggest part of it. But it's also an opportunity for parent support. In addition to that, we require the parents to attend family sessions with the kid. Yeah, a typical kid that would come to our program, there's maybe not exactly a typical youth because they may be coming from different experiences. For example, we might have a youth in our program who's a straight A student, doing very well, lots of friends even, and yet has these symptoms of depression and anxiety and pressures and stress that can lead even a kid who on the outward appears to everybody outwardly as being very successful. Turns out, on an internal level, they're feeling very stressed out, very anxious, a lot of pressure on themselves, and this can lead to behaviors that obviously can have permanent, forever consequences, such as suicide or very dangerous behaviors that can lead to death or long-term consequences. So that might be one of our youth. And on the other spectrum, we might have a member of our youth who's dropped out of school entirely. They can't do well in that setting because their level of anxiety and depression or thoughts are so overwhelming to them that they just are unable to participate in any activities. And so that might be somebody else that would come to the program. So in that way, it's not necessarily a typical youth, but I would say that most of the youth that we've seen so far in the program and that seems to work well with are kids of average to above average intelligence. They can be either overachievers or underachievers, but they're kids that really just need to get back on target in terms of how do I able to control all the stuff that I'm faced with at this time in my life. And so it's gaining the skills to do that. That's what it's all about. Yeah, it's tough for parents to sometimes recognize that because there's a process of denial or misinterpretation that parents go through. But if their child is saying or showing symptoms of anxiety or depression that's significant, the best first thing to do is just to bring your child in for an assessment. There's no loss to that. Your kid doesn't get mental illness because they see a therapist. It doesn't work like that. And so if you have any questions at all about how your child is doing in terms of are they having difficulty sleeping, do they appear highly anxious, do they seem to be depressed, is there a change? A lot of times it's just any kind of change might be significant. And don't be afraid to talk to your kid a little bit about what's happening. How's things going for you? How are you feeling? The nature of children may be that they don't give the parent the honest answer. So sometimes you might hear about it from another kid, from another sibling, one of their friends, anything like that. But the first step is really just to get an assessment. What Aspire is a more intensive program. It's for kids with significant symptoms. And again, that can show the range, but significant symptoms enough where it's really beginning to impair their functioning. Again, they may be doing very well in school, but they're not able to sleep, or they're feeling all this massive amounts of distress. And so this is, again, it's a 4-day-a-week program. So it's after school, 4 days a week, Monday, Tuesday, Thursdays, and Fridays. And the reason that it's that intense is because it really is an opportunity for them to both learn and apply the skills that they need. There's some homework involved with it. We have all the kids have diary cards where they will talk about, in their diary card, it'll be something that happened to them where they felt sad, for example. What happened at the time that they were feeling sad? What was the thought that happened, that they were experiencing? What was the event that occurred? And that type of observation, analysis, and breakdown, it's a little technical at some point, but shows good effect in terms of changing the kids' perceptions and ability to respond to what's going on in their life. We really wanted to develop a program with Aspire that was not looking to label kids with a mental illness. Not to say that this is what you have and here's the treatment and this is your, how it's all going to turn out for you in life. It's not like that at all. What we're looking to is help kids reach success, whatever it is that they can accomplish. And the kids have a lot of potential. No matter how much their symptoms are, how strong their symptoms are at the time, they can get through this and they can learn the skills they need to be successful in life. So the first thing we look at is to give them hope. We don't label them. Obviously we have to come up with a diagnosis for insurance purposes, and because it's accurate, depression, anxiety, these are real symptoms and real diagnoses, but it's not something that they have to carry with them their whole life. So that's the first approach that we think is the right approach, and it is a little bit on the unique side, I think, based on more intensive mental health programs. So that makes it a bit unique. The after-school structure is somewhat unique in that we're really looking to integrate well with the schools and with working with their families so that it doesn't impede on what else is going on in their life. The other approach is that whereas medication may be helpful for a youth just so that they can abate the symptoms enough so that they can benefit from other forms of therapy, it's not the focus of the program, and not all the kids are prescribed medications. It may not be indicated. If it is indicated, we don't say it's something you have to take your whole life, etc. No, it's what might be helpful right now. And so it's a dialogue with the child. So there's not a sense of I'm mentally ill, I have to take medication, I'm bipolar, whatever this type of labeling, and we're really trying to go away from that. It's much more about helping the kid be successful. I would say that if one of the barriers to kids getting help is the sense, but it could be from the parents, it could be from the child, that getting mental health has a certain stigma to it, that I'm a failure, that my child isn't successful, and there's that sense of I didn't do the right thing or all that, and that type of thinking can actually hold back a kid from reaching success because treatment works, mental health treatment works, and the program like this, it's more intensive, that really works on skill development that you need for life, is something that can really help support success. It's not a step back. It's not oh, I'm in a program now. Really, that type of thinking is a barrier to kids reaching the most of their potential that they can. And that's the message that we try to get out there with this program.